So you're from Fullerton, right?
Kind of. It's like a long story.
We got
But yeah,
time.
I was I was born in LA. My parents moved away for like kindergarten through like middle school, and then I came back to like Orange County when I was like just beginning middle school, pretty much. So yeah,
Okay.
I've traveled around a lot as a kid.
Really? So to whereabouts?
So we lived in New York for a little while, and then we moved to Massachusetts, like this city called Worcester. It's like in the middle Massachusetts. It was really cool for Halloween because people would really kind of do it up. Um, but yeah,
So you jumped
I
around
went
quite a
to
bit.
yeah, kind of just when I was a kid. But mainly I've been in California. Our family's always been in California, so like this is really home, and it always feels like right when I'm here, you know.
Right. So you've been here since the age of what? Middle school? So like 12,
Yeah, I was like 10,
10?
10,
Okay.
11,
All
maybe.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Do
we would
you
go back and forth all the time as kids.
yeah, do you think that you'll ever move out of California?
No,
Yeah. Me too. Me
no. I
too.
mean, it's it's funny we get to kind of see the world, and there's like moments where you kind of like, I could live in New York, or I could live in Austin, or Berlin. But I don't know. California is kind of just like, I don't know if it's being biased, but it's just kind of one of the best places in the world to live and to be
Definitely.
creative. Like, there's always like people around and opportunities like to go see bands and which is really lacking, I think, in a lot of places.
Definitely. Yeah. But I mean it's good that people are moving out though because they're starting new stuff in new places, which is great. I mean that's always good. I'm not saying that people need to leave. What I'm saying is it's nice that there's other there's other things happening out in the middle of the country, not just the coasts. Those
Yeah, it's
flyover states
true.
are becoming something else, which is great.
I mean, from what we've experienced, there's always been a community wherever we go, even if it is, a flyover state. It's like you could be in a small town and you'll meet someone and you'll like listen to the same kind of music. And it's just kind of a trip, like how really small it is, especially like with internet and having access to like music and stuff.
Yeah,
So it's like a
definitely.
global community for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah. Did your parents play music around the house when you were younger?
My mom actually used to play classical music when she was pregnant with me. My mom was kind of like the musical one, like she loved like the Beatles, and Elvis and stuff. Like, granted, she's an immigrant, so she wasn't even from here, but it was kind of like a big thing where she was from, and she was the one that like pushed me to play music ever since I was a kid. So really, it kind of like was from her.
Hmm. So not so much your father, but your mother was really harnessing this and it really, really cementing the idea of music within you.
Yeah, I think it was something that she had always wanted to do herself, but she came from a really kind of like a poor big family and she didn't have a lot of opportunities where she was from. And so, when she had me, she was like, I'm gonna like give my daughter like what I want it to be, which is like to play music. And I think to an extent she regrets it this day because she every time I talk to her, she's like, so when are you gonna go back and get a real job? I'm always like, Mom, you made me this way. I don't know.
This is your doing. If you just I don't know, maybe do math a little bit more or engineering. we
Oh
we'd
my
be having
gosh.
a
Yeah, my
deeper
dad was
discussion.
actually an engineer. So, it's like kind of two opposite
Well, I
sides
mean,
of the
you could still go back and get that and then just appease your father too, so you get the best of both.
That sounds hard. That
Yeah.
sounds like a double life. But, maybe we could study on the road.
A lot of downtime, huh? Oh, Rita, are you still there? Oh, there you go.
Oh
You're
no.
here. All
It
right.
froze.
Here we go. We're coming back.
Okay. Hi again.
All
Sorry, it
right.
froze. It froze mid-line.
Thanks for leaving. Appreciate it. No, I just think you didn't like the joke, and then you're like, whatever. Okay, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
Silence.
But I
No,
just
it's
like,
fine. Like, yeah. Next
it's
question.
happened like when there was one time we were playing in Germany. I remember it was really cold and I don't know, we finished the song and I think it was like maybe they were confused that we finished the song, but no one like clapped and we were kind of standing there like, oh my God, what is going on? But, yeah.
And then, but at the end, did they clap at the very end when you finished off your set, or were they just like, is there more? Or...
They did clap eventually, but that was a real tough crowd. It was so cold in the venue. Everyone was wearing like winter jackets. Like you could see your breath in the air when you were breathing. So I don't know if that had something to do with it or what, but yeah, it was definitely a strange show.
It's probably it's probably a, why doesn't Vice do a article on that, like cold stages in Germany? Like, what's the effects of that? That's what I want to see. Let's conduct that study.
Flu, corona, maybe.
Maybe not. I'm waiting for the article. I'll let you know.
Look forward to reading it.
Yeah. When did you start playing bass?
So I had been playing piano since I was really little. And then kind of when we started, then I picked up guitar when I was in high school. I got my first guitar when I was 15. So I kind of like dabbled around in that stuff, but I didn't pick up bass until we started the band. And basically we were jamming together, me and two of my girlfriends, and a mutual friend introduced us to Sade. She's like, you have to meet this girl. Like, she's amazing. Like, she's a great guitar player and she writes songs. So she came over to our rehearsal space and we kind of jammed. And there wasn't like, I was playing keyboards at first at the time. But then I was like, my roommate had a bass. I was like, maybe I'll try playing bass, like, like a real kind of rock and roll thing instead of like a keyboard or an organ, So kind of just went from there. I just learned with the band, basically.
That's good. That's very, very organic learning. But besides music as a kid, what else were you getting into? How were you spending your free time down there in Fullerton?
Oh my God. Well, I did go to a lot of shows. Like, I've always really loved music. Like, I used to go to Chain Reaction when I was a kid because it was like the only all ages venue, So that was kind of all we did. We would just like go to shows, go to movies, stuff like that. Orange County life.
I get
go to the
it.
Beach sometimes,
in a day, and you're like, all right, we can go back.
You can, totally. Very easy to do.
Yeah, definitely. Parking, different issue, but getting down there, lickety split. Yeah.
Can't be worse than Long Beach parking, I think.
That's true. Actually, but the last couple times that I went down to Long Beach, I actually had pretty good parking. I was like, this is pretty exciting here. I was like, okay. I'm like, and I'm good. Paralleled in there. It's great. It's good. That's always a good feeling. It's a good feeling when you're like, oh my gosh. Or going to a show for me in LA, it's like, okay, got to get there 45 minutes early, but
you gotta hunt for parking.
Yeah. And then sometimes you just find that one spot, you're like, are you, and then you're like double checking the sign, you're like, okay, no, it's not Tuesday from 4 a.m. to 3 a.m. So
dude, that's so funny you say that because I actually had my car towed at a show. It was like one of the first shows we played and it was in Hollywood. So like the secret trick when you come to LA, you can park in the yellow loading after 6 or 7, something like that.
I did not know that.
So I parked there. Yeah, you can. It's actually some weird loophole, but for some reason in Hollywood, they weren't following that. So we played this like great show and we're like all stoked, ready to go home and like roll up and like my car is just gone. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened here? Did it get stolen? Like what? Turns out they just towed it. It's Hollywood.
Yeah, that happened to me in San Diego. And I was just like, oh man, like I was like, okay, it definitely got towed. Walked all the way to the tow yard and with my buddy. And we kind of left early and then just like a sea of people behind us were trying to get their cars too. And it took like, I want to say an hour and a half for these ladies to get everybody. And it's like, what's going on here? I'll pay the stuff, but it's like what is going on? They were older ladies. It looked like they didn't use a computer once ever, and she had an attitude. When I got up there, like, I need to go back to Orange County tonight, lady. So like whatever it is, like let's just get this going. That was a hassle. Yeah. So I feel you there. Yeah. San Diego, Ralph's like parking lot. Yeah.
Ralph's parking lot.
That's where it was. That's where I got towed. I was like, okay, great.
How did they even know you weren't shopping?
Exactly. And who called it in? And if there are so many people parking there, how many people really go into that grocery store that it's an issue? I don't know. But thanks, San Diego.
San Diego's a crazy place. It's funny how different it is, even though it's super close. Like the whole scene there is like a little bit different. But
Yeah. I like it though. It's a neat place. I like to visit.
I like that you can see kind of bigger bands down there, like versus like here in LA. Like I love seeing like kind of smaller, more intimate shows. So I always think it's fun to see like one of your favorite bands like outside of here.
Yeah, I don't know why it looks so weird to me. Like when somebody's touring like a bigger name, like what the Rolling Stones, let's say, for example,
right.
And it says San Diego. It's like, I mean, like, yeah, it makes sense. It just looks weird on paper to me. I don't know. It's like LA, yeah, but yeah, but much love for San Diego. Like it a lot. It's a good place. Tows cars.
Yeah, there's some great venues. Pardon?
I said they tow cars. So I mean, but besides they're
true.
It's good.
Towing willy-nilly, yeah.
Yeah, they don't care. Especially Vaughn's or Ralph's, whatever it was.
Ralph's, the evil Kroger Corporation.
Pavilions. So were you getting into a lot of trouble as a kid, or were you relatively a good kid, not getting into much mischief?
I was a good kid. I was like straight edge, you know what I mean? Like I didn't get into trouble till I was like 18, and then I kind of just like lost it a little bit, but I'm glad I waited because I've heard some crazy stories.
What kind of trouble were you getting into?
Me?
Yes.
Just like, like every kid goes through those phases where you smoke weed and you start doing like experimenting with psychedelics and just like pretty much anything you can get your hands on. But for sure, I think everyone should try psychedelics at least once to just kind of at least put life in perspective a little bit, like an ego death kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what? Now I'm assuming you did acid as well as mushrooms. Yes, both of these. Now,
yes, I prefer acid.
Really? Why is that?
I think because my first mushroom trip was like really insane. I took I think it was like an eighth of fresh mushrooms in Amsterdam. And just like we thought it would be a good idea walking around the red light district. It was super not chill. So I think there's like an edginess to mushrooms. I mean, I do think that like the ego death in mushrooms is particularly like nice. When you come off of it, you feel really good. Like you kind of reset your brain. Acid is just beautiful. I think it's just one of those things where you feel kind of connected in a way to everything, especially if you're in an environment like a music festival where you're doing it and a lot of people are on the same trip as you. It's like super amazing.
Mm-hmm. So the first time you took mushrooms, it was in Amsterdam.
Yes.
As well as acid, or was acid over here in California?
Yeah, I did acid at like some house parties, but I didn't really like trip. Thank God, until like I think it was like one of the FYFs when it was really early on back in the Chinatown Historic Park.
Oh fuck
saw
yeah!
Baroness like, on acid. It was crazy.
Wait, you saw who on acid?
Baroness. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. And it was good, I'm assuming?
It was really good. Yeah. It was incredible. It was a good time.
Your car towed or no?
No, we walked. We were smart about it because we were all tripping. And at the time I lived in Echo Park. I lived in Echo Park for 7 years, and it was like kind of an easy walk, like maybe an hour. Good walk if you're on acid or mushrooms.
How long did it feel like it took you on acid I'm assuming you dropped it and then walked there and then walked back, right?
Yeah, I think we got there, took the acid, and then when it was kind of like, it was the end of the night. Like, I think for sure everyone was kind of like leaving to do the after party thing, and everyone was going to like the Chinatown bars, like Grand Star Jazz Club back in the day when it was a thing. And we were just like, we can't handle being around all these people. Like, let's just go. So it was a good walk back for sure. It was fun.
That's good. A nice jaunt.
Yeah, we saw a spider, looked crazy on acid. It was like this big. Mm-hmm. Maybe I don't know if we made it up, but yeah, it was very intense.
When was the first time you got drunk? How old were you?
I was probably like 16, maybe. It was definitely high school. I used to like steal my dad's wine and drink it. Yeah, just had it on the house, you know? And beer. Lots of Budweiser.
Of course. Proud sponsor of this podcast right here, Budweiser. Yeah. What high school did you attend?
Diamond Bar High.
Diamond Bar High. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So I kind of live in that little zone in between, like Brea.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like it's like LA County technically, but it's closer to Orange County.
Mm-hmm. I get it. You just wanted to leave immediately. I understand. I get it. You're like, okay.
It's true.
Just some distance. Yeah. Are your folks still in Orange County right now? Do they still live?
Yeah. My mom still lives there. We're going out for Mother's Day coming up, you know.
Of course.
Going to Santa Monica. Yeah. Pressure.
Good. The heat is on. Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone's kind of coming out of quarantine now, and it kind of feels like life is going a little bit more back to normal, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, you get anxiety about other stuff too now, which is great. The normal stuff.
Yeah. Well, traffic is coming back. And I think bars are opening here now too. So I feel like it's only a matter of time before live music happens again. And it's good. Like, I think something that we're all kind of like looking forward to. I mean, it's been, a year and some change. So it's just crazy to think it's happening,
Yeah, definitely. It's just it's mind boggling, It's like, is this really happening? I remember going to shows. I remember that. I like doing that.
Do you miss it? Do you miss going to shows?
Oh yeah, I went to I was going to a lot of shows leading up to the COVID, and I was every weekend I was like, great, yeah, I'll go, and the ones I didn't go to, I'm like, I should have went to that.
I know, and it's so crazy to think all the venues that have closed kind of in between. So I think for me, it's kind of also feeling a little like anxiety or scared, like not sure like what's happening, like what's happening to independent music. I mean, when we were kids, you could go to house shows or you could go to small venues like The Smell or, something like that. And it's like, well, when those are gone, like, what are people going to do? How do you get started as a young band? It's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's true. But, as we've seen, like, now that the internet's around, something will take the place of that and something will, fill that gap, whatever it is. I don't think we know yet. I don't know what it's going to be, but there should be something, probably, hopefully.
Well, it's funny that you say the internet, because I just recently met these kids, and they're on, I don't remember, they're on like a huge label, but they got famous through TikTok. They went like viral on TikTok and like got signed, like, and it was just kind of crazy. It's like a different sort of like way to reach audiences, I guess.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about that. Like, oh, such and such music is like, blowing up, which is great. Like, that's awesome. Good for the exposure for these bands.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a good band. Like, all right, awesome, man.
Yeah, they deserve it.
What's the name of the band?
I can't remember. I know it's I know, I'm so terrible. I know he sings and plays guitar. It's like kind of folk music, and I think it's I'm so bad with names.
Bob Dylan.
Some like no, it's more like Tyler the Creator, like in that vein. But he does like it's crazy. It's like something like I can't remember. Actually, get back to him.
All right. Well, if you get it in there, let me know, and then we'll throw it in for these kids. All 40 people who listen to this are going to be looking them up. So,
Hi.
Yeah. Did you go to college?
I did.
Where'd you go?
I went to UC Riverside.
Home
in the desert.
Home of the what? What was what's the mascot?
I think it was the Highlanders, because it kind of looks like Scotland there. Yeah. But it's kind of cool, that whole area being there, because the Desert Days actually happens kind of out there, or it used to. So it's kind of like, oh, I know these places. But yeah.
All right.
I studied art history.
That was a nice question, of course. What drew you to art history? Why was that the major?
I actually had a really cool teacher in high school, and she really kind of inspired me. Like, she would tell us all these kind of crazy stories about artists like Van Gogh, like being tortured and cutting off his own ear because in like a fit of like, sadness. So like to me, I can always like relate to that kind of feeling, I guess. So I just went into that.
Do you feel like you bring those feelings into the music that you write?
I think so. I mean, I think all of us are kind of more drawn to like darker like sounds. Not really the kind of like the poppy like garage thing. Not that we don't, love that kind of music, but it's just kind of instinctively like what we want to do or what I feel like playing, like what I feel sounds right to me, I guess, if that makes sense.
No, it does definitely. Yeah, and you're expressing that through your art form, not painting or
Yeah.
yeah, just through a different medium.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just really liberating to just kind of zone out and just do your thing. And that's what I think I miss the most about playing live music is like you're on stage with these people and you're creating the sound. And it's like you kind of forget how like I guess like it feels like special on stage or something. I don't know. Like I don't know. I'm just rambling now.
Well, it sounds special. No, you're not rambling. I like to hear it, and the other people
Sorry,
like to hear
I
it too. We're gonna start this over. Are you ready? Okay, so you're from Fullerton, right?
was rewind, do
Yeah.
over, undo.
Yeah. Were you in any other bands before LA Witch?
I kind of dabbled in playing like keyboards or organ with my friend's band. Like we didn't really do anything. Kind of just went to like Mexico once and stuff. But
To play?
yeah. But it was like they were like Christian. I don't know. They were like Christian people who kind of like were trying to break. I don't know. It was some weird stuff. Like I didn't find this out till way later that they were all like super Christian. I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense now. But yeah, we also played in Sade's ex-boyfriend's band called the Silver Drones. And then me and Ellie played in my boyfriend's band for a while called Big Sis. So yeah, all kind of very different types of music, which is cool.
Do you feel like you still harness some of those um some of the techniques that you were using in those other bands with those other sounds and incorporating them into LA Witch?
I think of course, you do like learn you subconsciously or consciously you kind of just take away parts of it. And I think that's what's cool about music. Like you can listen to all different kinds of things. You're not limited to one thing or one way of playing or one genre or one style. It's kind of like always just looking for more inspiration because there's so much kind of music out there that's so good, that's not necessarily like rock or, in that world.
Yeah, definitely. Do you recall the first show that you played?
I remember the first show we played as a band. It was at this really divey, shitty bar called Little Joy. It used to be a tranny bar, or like back in the day, back in Echo Park days. But it was funny because they had to move the pool table aside so the bands could play in the middle. And it's so funny because everyone kept hitting their heads on the lamp. I don't know. I remember that. Yeah, it was cool.
And did they move it back? Did you see them move it back before you left?
Yes. Dude, pool was a huge thing at Little Joy back in the time. Like it used to be like I think there was a band even named Little Joy after the venue. It was kind of like the heyday in Echo Park, like Silver Lake, when it was still kind of dangerous a little bit. It felt dangerous.
There's all those pool tables in the way and lamps.
Yeah. I mean,
those are the real dangers.
It's true. Like, have you ever hit your head?
Tell you.
Kind of,
yeah. Exactly. This is what they're not reporting on. This is the real news. And you know what?
Vice, get on that. Yeah.
Or whoever, MSNBC, whoever,
CNN wants to know. Maybe Fox News.
Yeah, but they want to know, but they won't know because they don't have the balls to get out there and actually hit their head and report on it. But whatever.
True. How do you know unless you've experienced it?
Yeah, exactly. So you're playing in these little places before. So what year is this? Right around.
probably like 2012, 2013. We kind of just like played whatever we could. Anytime someone invited us to play a show, we would just do it because, you know, we just really enjoyed playing music together and it was really fun. I mean, obviously there was no one there for, you know, years and years, and we would play like bars, like houses, wedding, like anything, you know,
Yeah.
anything that people wanted us to do, we were like down because we loved to play music. So it's funny, like people are like, oh, you're like, you know, like they're touring and they didn't do much. And it's like, dude, we cut our teeth for years, like in like small clubs where like no one went. The toilet was really sketchy or something.
Lamps are in the way. Pool tables being moved. Yeah. And I'm not out there doing it. Okay. LA record. No, they're nice people over there.
They're super nice.
It's so funny because, recently I was cleaning out a bunch of stuff and I just had this LA record. You guys were in it. Wyatt Blair was in it, and it was just like a bunch of. I was like, I sent Wyatt Blair a picture. Like look at this. Like it's like I still had it. And it was just so interesting. And that was way before I was doing this podcast. I was like, wow, look at this. But this will be the last time you're on here. You know. I mean, I've heard enough. I read the magazine. You're on it once. That's it. I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, like when we kind of first started the band, there was that whole scene in Echo Park with like Lollipop, and you know they were doing all the residencies on Monday, and it was like a really good time. I feel like to be a band. You know, everyone kind of knew each other in a way. We actually did one of our first recordings with Wyatt and Thomas. I don't know if they'll remember this, but it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, super nice. Love Wyatt. If you're listening, Wyatt, how are you, man? Love you, dude. Super nice guys over there. But yeah, it's really interesting. So when you moved to LA, was it directly to Echo Park immediately?
No, I actually lived in Eagle Rock at this fucking crazy haunted house. It used to be like a gang house, and I guess people were shot on the front lawn. You could actually Google it and read the whole article. But yeah, I lived in Eagle Rock for a little bit, moved in with like a bunch of like musicians and artists. And then I moved to Echo Park like shortly after that.
How did you know it's haunted? Did you have an experience in that house?
Oh my God, so many. I know I sound kind of crazy when but there would always be people that would come to the house. You know how you always have like that friend that's like, I can see ghosts, or you know what I mean? Like, or I can feel them. So anytime people would come there, they would be like, oh wow, there's like two spirits here. And it was always two. Very strange. But we like did find out there was two people that were shot on the lawn or whatever during this house party. So, and it was kind of a party house. So every time we threw parties, the neighbors would be like freaking out, like so scared. It was like a really strange time.
Yeah. So how much was rent when you lived in that house?
Like $600.
Pricey, steep. It's real steep for LA. Fuck. All right.
Is it?
No, I'm kidding.
I mean,
that's a steal.
Oh, okay.
It's a steal.
It's funny because my friend lives in MacArthur Park and her rent is like $800 for like a one bedroom.
Is it rent controlled? What is going on there?
It must be.
That's really haunted.
Yeah.
Then it's probably really haunted. She's like, I don't care.
It is a gnarly building for sure. I mean, sure it has some history.
Shit, $800 in 2021. That's insane.
Yeah. No, she's lucky. She's like, I'm never leaving.
Good for her. I wouldn't either. Sheesh. Yeah. So how soon after LA Witch's formation did you guys start playing shows? Was it like relatively quick succession?
No, it actually took about 6 months. I mean, we were kind of just jamming and writing music, and we didn't even like want to play. Like, there was never any kind of intention for me, at least, behind it. It was just about like creating music and, you know, making bonds, like learning. And we had a really good friend, the same one that introduced us to Sade. He used to be in this band, and he was like, hey, we're doing the show at Little Joy. Do you guys want to play? And we're like, sure. He's like, okay, so what should I put as a name on the flyer? And we were like, oh my God, we have to come up with a band name. Like, So we spent like I think a week or two just like brainstorming and like all kinds of crazy ideas. Like I think the Ike and Tina Turner project was one of them. There was like Wet Dreams, Black Girls, like all kinds of like crazy stuff. And we actually really wanted to be called just Witch, but obviously there's like a ton of bands called Witch, so we threw the LA on it because it was kind of like more like a punk kind of homage, I guess. Yeah.
You didn't even think about calling it Fullerton Witch? That'd be pretty cool too.
Has a nice ring to it, right?
Definitely does, yeah.
It's funny though, actually, because we've toured now in like other places, and they'll have like I think we met one band called like Belmont Witch, and they were from like Belmont, France, and it was kind of a trip. Like, whoa, there's others like out there, like a psych fest, or it's like Austin Psych Fest, like a city psych fest. So it'll be like San Francisco Witch or something. Maybe they'll catch on.
There's gonna be a fight between who gets to keep the name.
I know, right? Oh my
God. There can't be all these names. Too many places, too many witches, a lot of witches.
There was actually a lot of witch bands. I think they actually did an article about it when we first did Austin Psych Fest. It was like, check out all these witch bands. And there was like 8 of them.
Like, great. Really, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you hold on to it long enough, it's fine.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're the most prominent area-based witch band title? If that makes any sense, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. Well, I don't think there's any other witch bands in the area, so I would say yeah.
In the area, no, I meant like just by a default, everybody, all of the.
Oh, in the world?
Yeah, all the one in France and one in SF. You think that you're not the most popular one? Okay.
We're not the most popular witch. We won't be that arrogant to say that. There's definitely a lot of witch bands out there that are very big and very good. So.
Witch Fest. Just saying.
Wish Fest. 2022.
Saying, if I see it, I'll see you in court.
It'll be your idea. You'll be like, hey, let me get in on that. You could do interviews live from Witch Fest. Yeah.
Live from Witch. That has a ring to it. It does. Let's get your management on it. We'll talk after this. The inside baseball of it all. So what was the first tour you guys went on?
Oh my gosh, the first real tour?
Real one, yeah.
Was Mexico, actually. We had this really great band from Mexico. They're called Has a Shadow. They invited us down to Mexico, and we never played anywhere really, like, small runs to like San Francisco or something. But our first real tour was in Mexico. And it was just crazy how much hospitality they have down there. I mean, it's a really beautiful culture, and a lot of musicians go down there to like record and stuff just because it's such a very open kind of place, like at the Wild West in a way. And the crowd there is like fantastic. They get really into music. And I remember the first time we ever played on acid was in Mexico. That was part of that tour. And it's funny because we actually did a radio interview right before, and they took a photo of us, and I think you can still find it somewhere on the internet, but our eyes are like huge. Like, oh my God.
You should have dropped acid before this one. I think that would have been an interesting interview.
Oh my gosh, free form interview. Like, we'd be off in tangents, like talking about politics.
It's gonna wind up like Joe Rogan, like just a 4-hour thing.
That's what I imagine all podcasts are like. That's why I was like kind of scared. I'm like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, no, I'm pretty big. It's Joe Rogan, and then it's me. It's I'm close second right there with the people who listen to this. They really,
but he's had some crazy shit on his show for sure.
Yeah, but you know what? Anyway. We're not going to discuss Joe Rogan. We're not. That's not it. No.
Remember when he was on Fear Factor though? I mean, that was
I do remember that. Yeah. No, that was on NBC, right? That was.
It was definitely on like primetime television.
It was on primetime.
Kind of like sick thing that people like to watch.
And
like they would cover you in cockroaches and weird shit like that.
Yeah. It was really a Fear Factory. Really.
Nice. Fear Factory.
Fear Factory, yeah. It is crazy though that he was a dude from Fear Factor. And it didn't really cross my mind that it was him. Like when I started like hearing about him, I was like, oh shit, that is the guy from Fear Factor, Like
Yeah, people forget.
yeah.
That's how he started.
Yeah.
Just a really intense guy. Yeah.
And he's like, all right, I guess I'll do UFC afterwards.
Yeah, that's right. That's crazy. He's done good for himself.
Yeah, he's doing really great. Like 200 and estimate like I want to say like $200 million from Spotify deal.
Are you serious? That's more than artists get. Any artist will ever get from Spotify.
Yeah. Oh man. Crazy. But you know what? Good for him. Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So how did the show go on acid though?
It felt great, but who knows? Felt great on stage. And actually, I think there is a video. There is a video, you can watch it. It's like LA Witch drive your car from Guadalajara, so you can watch it yourself. I think it was fine. It felt really good though at the time.
So what's your favorite drug to take? I didn't mean to step over what you're saying though.
In general, I don't do too much drugs these days, but I do love to smoke weed every now and then.
So don't say that. The cops are listening, lady. Say what you want about acid and mushrooms, but weed in California? Okay, yeah, that'll be the day when it's legal.
Well, it's actually funny. I got arrested on tour for weed. So I'm like kind of traumatized, but I'm just gonna put it out there. We were going from Denver to Salt Lake. There was a show, Denver last night, driving to Salt Lake the next night, and we had to cross through Wyoming. And our tour manager at the time, he was speeding through these like streets of Wyoming, so we got pulled over. They're like, "Where'd you come from?" Denver. Bring in the dogs. So that happened. But the best part is so they arrested me, they booked me, went to jail, like all that stuff, got bailed out, and then drove to Salt Lake and made the show. Like we had to push the show back like an hour, but we ended up playing the show. And it's so funny because when we rolled in, everyone was like, oh, like screaming because I guess they'd heard about it or something. But yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy 24 hours.
Wait, so did you just take the fall for everybody else? Like, yeah, it's my weed. Like whatever.
I mean, well, the fucked up thing was someone had given me a joint, and I had it in my cigarette case. I totally forgot, and that was the first thing they searched. And I was like, well, I have it on me. We had a few other things, but it was
paraphernalia.
I'm already, I might as well take. I didn't mind.
So
it was time. It was time. It was about time.
How long were you in locked up for?
Only a couple hours. It was a very small town, so it kind of felt like I was the only one in there. It was snowing that day, and they just booked me real quick, and then I just got bailed pretty much immediately after. So it was a pretty chill experience as far as I didn't have to go into a tank with anyone else or whatever.
This is nice. You can spread out in here.
Yeah, it was a good old arrest, a good old fashioned arrest. So yeah.
Was that the only
Sorry,
time
Mom. Now she knows about it. I never told her.
Well, she is a huge fan. She actually she had called me earlier today. She said, "Hey, would you mind getting to the bottom of this weed situation? I know she smokes it." I said, "Yeah, I will." So,
My mom probably doesn't even know what weed smells like. You know what I mean? She's just oh, incense.
That's what I used to think weed smelled like, because I think I was told maybe by one of my parents, I said, what does that smell like? Oh, it's weed. But I think there's weed being masked by incense. So every time I smell it, it's somebody's smoking weed. I was dead wrong.
You're wow, so many people are smoking weed.
So many people. I mean, I wasn't coming across it that often, but when I was somebody's smoking weed. But do you don't think that your parents have ever smoked weed before?
God, I don't know. My dad maybe. My dad was kind of the bad one. But
he's a bad boy engineer. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because he used to have, when I was a kid, he used to have a T-shirt and it said "party animal" on it, which I didn't really get until much later in life. Because he liked to drink for sure. So
he's an animal. He's a party animal.
Yeah, I was like, Dad, like what?
That's pretty sleek. It's a pretty sick shirt. I
I know. I
respect
wish
that.
he kept it. I would have like worn it.
Oh
Sure.
yeah, definitely. You gotta take over. Somebody's gotta be the party animal. Maybe he still is like,
Well,
no.
I am.
He's like, you can't take my spot. You don't know what I've done.
It's true. I haven't, and I don't want to know. I also don't really want to know.
Well, he told me and he wanted me to run it by you. I talked to both your parents before this, so but anyways,
Good.
was that the only time you've ever been arrested?
Me, yes. The only time I've ever been arrested. So yeah, it wasn't a
Sure.
bad experience. I've seen many people being arrested though. Been around many arrested people.
Arrestees?
Doesn't ever seem fun. Yeah, especially in LA, like it's not super not chill, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Because it's super crowded. Yeah.
4 million people census, right? Something like that. I believe it's 4 million.
Man, I'm not surprised,
With this whole parking situation, I get it. I understand.
Oh yeah, there's no parking. There's not going to be parking. I don't know what people are going to do about that. Because usually cities just end up evolving like public transport because of like the lack of space, but I don't know if LA is capable.
Do you have a designated parking spot where you live?
I do.
Ooh.
Actually do. Yeah, it's very lucky. Yeah, I think if your house is built after like a certain year, it has to come with parking, like by law, in the city of LA.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You're giving all these facts about the parking situation, and I really do respect it. I know the loading zone thing. Is it like a permit thing, or do you have a driveway space?
I have like a parking spot.
Oh, okay.
Designated. Yeah, rare.
Very, very good for you though. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important. I've chatted with my buddy before. I said, if I ever like lived here, I was like, I would need a space. It's like I don't want to like loop around for hours trying to find somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, if you live in
Nightmare.
K-Town, you can circle for hours and like not find a spot.
Yeah,
which is why I would say for all people, don't live in K-Town if you have a car. It's like the number one thing.
Walk on acid, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, walking is good. It's good exercise. It's how people stay fit in Europe. It's funny because when we're in Europe, like it's so easy to walk everywhere, but here it's like you walk the same distance and you're walking like by a freeway, like super sketchy.
Super scenic, I would say. I think you mean scenic, not sketchy.
Just like the sound of cars.
What are some milestones that personally stand out to you from being in the band?
Oh boy. I think the first one was playing Austin Psych Fest. It was kind of one of those festivals that we'd always heard about. And like every year, like as a band, we'd be like, let's go. So, the lineup's incredible, but we just never had any money. None of us really came from like that much money. So like to travel it was hard for us because we were working full time. And so when we finally got invited to play, it was kind of like one of those things like, oh my God, like this is really happening. We're really a band, because we didn't have recordings either for a long time. We just had like a self-released EP. We used to like burn CDs and like print stickers and like paste them on. Like we were super DIY for a really long time, like made our own buttons, like with painting it with nail polish and stuff like that. So yeah, that one was definitely like a huge thing for us. And then also signing to Suicide Squeeze, because it was like, we'd just been a band for so long without really anything to show for it. And they were so cool and so nice. And they helped us put out that first album. So that was like really cool. Yeah. They even sent one like framed. Like a record.
Did you say you have one framed?
Yeah, Suicide Squeeze sent us our first record just like framed and sent each one of us one. And it was so cute.
That's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they're a great label. They're incredible.
And a good roster too.
They do. And they're all good people. We all like know each other. It's cool like seeing each other somewhere in the world. We were joking about this, like when you're in a band, like you don't really see your friends when you're at home, but like when you're traveling, that's when you see everybody. So it's kind of funny.
Have you ever been somewhere in Europe or Mexico or what have you, even another state that you've met the person and you're not good friends with them, and you're like, hey, I know you. Me and you, we're sticking together on this.
Oh, like you became like best friends.
I
Oh my
mean,
God, that
just
happens all
it's
the time on
yeah,
tour.
someone that you've seen, and you're like, oh, I know you. Let's go get a drink or whatever. Like, let's go hang
Oh,
out.
like another artist or
Mhm,
something like that.
mhm, exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely happened. Um, yeah. I remember one time when we were in Berlin, and my friend who plays in the Growlers was like, "We're also in Berlin. You want to come to the show?" And we're like, "Sure." So we got to hang out in Berlin, and we went to like a weird after hours club and like caught up and stuff like that.
Mhm. Very nice.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's been really cool to like meet, musical heroes like you've been listening to since you were a kid, and being able to see them like on stage is like kind of a trip for sure.
Who were some notable, the memorable ones for you,
Like seeing them play.
or meeting them,
Uh,
either or?
Meeting's hard because like for me, like I'm like I don't want this to ruin how I feel about the band. But it was really cool seeing 13th Floor Elevators play. They did that Austin Psych Fest reunion. We got to play with Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats, who like I really love, and it was like such a cool experience to be on tour with them. The Kills. Yeah, I'm trying to think who else. There's been like so many bands over the years, it's so hard to remember. Oh, Iggy Pop at Desert Days was really cool. Um, I'm drawing blank.
I don't know anybody you just said, so doesn't ring a
Oh,
bell. What's the worst show you've ever played?
a show in Germany. It was Dresden, where they didn't clap. That was a pretty bad show. Yeah.
Why do you think they didn't clap? Have you theorized this at all? Have you came up with a hypothesis?
Okay, so I will say, because we were touring with Uncle Acid, and they do have kind of a lot of like metal fans, and we're like not anywhere in that sphere, I would say. So I think there was a bit of like a learning curve on that. And just like, I don't know, we've never played in East Germany before. I think it was, yeah, Dresden. So it was kind of like, didn't know what to expect.
Well, now you do.
Now, yeah, not going back to Dresden anytime soon. I hope.
So how many different countries have you played in with Ellie Witch?
Oh my gosh, a bunch. The most memorable for sure were Australia and South Africa, which is a country I never thought we'd ever go to South Africa, but there's this amazing festival down there called Endless Days. They have it every year, and it was just a very cool vibe. It was kind of like any other, like it was just like another psych fest, you know what I mean? Like good music, and people were really nice and chill.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really feel like you were that far away from like Desert Days even.
That plane flight makes you feel that way, though. As I know, 16 hours and then 18 hours back. Yeah, I know.
Dude, we have our own like plane tips or whatever. Always get an aisle seat when you're on a long flight for sure.
Okay.
Um, always bring like masks, earplugs, stuff like that. And then the worst thing is actually carrying your guitar. Guitars on planes is like, oh my God, a nightmare.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, because not only do you have to like lug it through the airport, sometimes they'll like make you check it, and you're just like, this is my baby. Like if this dies, like won't have anything for tour. Like we've heard a lot of horror stories about guitars getting like messed up
And
like
lost and
thousands.
whatever.
Yeah, that's like terrible.
Oof.
So we started carrying them in soft cases, and I guess like in soft cases they're more likely to like put them in the closet or something for you. So that's a secret tip.
I would never think about bringing a soft case ever. I'd be like, no, the hardest one you have. Thank you.
Yeah, it looks kind of funny because it's like you're wearing a really big backpack, like walking around the airport. But it's for the guitar. I'll do anything for it. So.
I mean that must what. So why didn't you try to rent gear over there, or were you just like, whatever? I'll just bring the guitar and then use the amps. that they have there?
I guess that's a good question. I don't really know. I guess just the lack of opportunity and just also having to like rent it, like the money cost. And it's like your instrument, you're used to kind of playing it a certain way and having it sound a certain way. But when we do travel to Europe, we don't have to bring like amps or anything. It's just basically, pedals, guitar, breakables, like cymbals and stuff. And then everything else gets rented.
Mhm. Smart. Yeah. Don't want to lug all that. Imagine bringing a drum kit over there
I don't
on a
even think you
plane.
could. I don't know how you could even do that.
This is how you do it. Separately start shipping them out. So you ship the cymbals, right? And then you got like the hi-hat stand, and it's just, but you got to start shipping it months early. You're like, okay, we're gonna be there then. Okay, great. Here's like the kick pedal. That's how you gotta do it.
There you are. Sorry, you froze for a sec.
I was just in a deep conversation with you that you weren't paying attention to. It's all right though. You can go back and listen.
I just
to
heard
this.
kick pedal. I heard kick pedal. So at
I
least
also
caught
talked
that part.
about the hi-hat stand and the cymbals, but you got to start
Oh
shipping
my
them
God,
out.
cymbals. Oof. So heavy to carry, dude. Those are gnarly.
Yeah, yeah. Zildjian. I get it.
Oh yeah. Those are the best ones. It's funny because we were at the airport once and Ellie was carrying her cymbals and I think they accidentally fell over and hit like this lady in the leg. Oh my God, she flipped out. She was like on the floor, like crying and like grabbing her leg, and all these people came over and got her a wheelchair. It was really intense. We were like,
And then she
cymbals,
got
dude.
arrested for the first time.
She's the only one that hasn't been arrested on tour, so knock on glass.
Did you do any traveling with your folks when you were younger? I mean, I know that you said that you moved around a little bit to Massachusetts and stuff, but did you guys ever take other trips out of the country?
Yeah, well, my parents are from a tiny island country called Taiwan. So we would go there like every summer or something like that. So yeah, used to traveling that flight. Long flight too. It's probably like 12 hours, I want to say.
Yeah. Man.
And when you're a kid, you don't want to you don't want to be in a plane that long.
No. I mean, adults don't want to do it, let alone kids, you know?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the worst is when there's a baby near you, and I always feel bad for the parents because they're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
baby.
But and I mean, normal people like I get it. I understand. It's a child. But
It's a child.
those psychos are like, shut that baby up right now. It's like, what is your problem, man? What do you want them to do?
Yeah, what's your damage? You're having a bad day.
Yeah. David Byrne.
That's what I was that's what I was thinking.
Oh my gosh, that's it. No more career for you. It's done.
I feel bad.
I'm gonna tell Chris Franz about this. He's coming on later on today, and I'm gonna tell him all about this, and he'll get back to David. Don't worry.
Glad the word's gonna get out.
And it's gonna make real sense. It's gonna start making sense rather.
I'm gonna start like a rap battling, like rock battle.
Yeah, definitely. Do you feel like your sound has changed since the first record up until Play with Fire? Do you feel like you've done made a shift in sound?
Well, I think the first album was kind of like a collection of the songs that we'd written ever since, the starting of the band. And so, obviously like we had toured a bunch after that and really kind of learned how to, play better and better, or at least I hope. And yeah, it kind of evolved. So when Play with Fire came out, we wrote that album in a pretty short amount of time. It was before quarantine, and we were just we had a month or two to sit down and like write songs. And it was really good for the creative process because I know a lot of people don't like to be hindered. But for me, when I have like parameters or like a deadline, I like work better because otherwise I'm like all over the place, So it was really cool to be able to like sit down, like focus on like writing songs. And that's where like the majority of Play with Fire came. I think there was only one song that was like older.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you guys all sit down together and start developing a song, is it usually the same process that you guys go through for every song?
No.
Or it jumps around. There's no really set schedule, or not schedule, but routine rather.
Yeah, there's no set routine, all of us come up with different ideas, like maybe it'll be like a guitar part or like a bass line or a drum beat, and we'll bring it to practice and we'll kind of jam on it and see if something comes out of it. So yeah, it is kind of a different process, and it's fun because it's very collaborative. It's not like, one person's like, this is what you're gonna play, you know what I mean? It's like a combined effort.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Um, Now, is there any music that inspires you that people would be kind of taken aback by that you draw inspiration from?
I'm trying to think. I mean, besides like CCR, I don't know if that would be a weird one.
Well, who isn't inspired by CCR? John Fogerty. Come on now.
I mean, I don't know. I guess you're right. That's true, because I feel like the Gun Club was inspired by CCR for sure. I mean, they did that Run Like the Jungle cover.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're kind of inspired by like movie soundtracks. I think like kind of horror movie, like Dario Argento, Goblin, Ennio Morricone, that kind of stuff, which I think is maybe a little different. I don't actually listen to like a lot of newer music, so all the stuff I know is kind of older. But I'm starting to try to get into newer bands because there's so much good music coming out right now. So.
Yeah, there is definitely. Yeah, it's a good time for music, although there's no music being played, but it's good. It's a good.
Yeah, it's funny because I heard wasn't like Gibson. They went out of business. They filed for bankruptcy or something. Gibson, and then they were bought out by someone, maybe Fender. And then I remember hearing for a while that Guitar Center was kind of like close to closing, but it seems like during quarantine they really picked up selling like instruments to people. So I think that's really cool that people took that time, to actually do something creative and express themselves that way.
Definitely. Was there a turning point that stood out to you when you felt like you were getting some notoriety? The band was, you're like, wow, like we're actually gaining some traction here.
I think the weird part was definitely one of the weirdest parts was like seeing our album at Amoeba, because like we've been going there since kids, so it was like, oh, like super cool. I don't know. I guess it's like also it's like when you go to a venue or something, you can see people like recognize you. I think is the weirdest part, because they won't talk to you. They kind of just go like, and they'll like whisper to their friend and like kind of point at you, and everyone like looks at you. Like, oh, just run away.
How are you?
Yeah.
How did it feel to see yourself on a billboard for your album?
Oh my god, it's so weird. It's so cool.
I mean, I bet that's an awesome feeling. That's just like, oh my gosh, like look at that. That's insane.
Yeah, it's kind of trippy to see your face. It's funny. Also, another weird thing was like seeing like people getting tattoos. Someone got a tattoo of like us. It was like very weird. I was like, oh, I don't even know you, but I guess here we are.
Yeah. I mean, you did something right. That must be. I don't know if that'd be cool or be like, oh wow. Yeah, I mean, it's probably oh wow in a cool way though, right?
I mean, it's if you love something enough to get it tattooed on you, like that's pretty cool. And that's cool that it touches you that way, I guess.
Yeah, that is really cool. How long was the recording process for Play with Fire?
So we did it over a course of probably like 3 days of main tracking, and then we did a bunch of like auxiliary stuff, percussion, overdubs and stuff. So that was another maybe like 2 weeks on and off, which is cool, like because we were able to kind of take our time a little bit with like the mixing and stuff, which is always my favorite thing to do, because that's when it all kind of comes together. But yeah, we were done with it within like a month for sure.
That's really quick turnaround.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. Because usually awesome. Recording it's just a whole different animal. It's not like playing live, like you have to kind of adapt yourself a certain way, and you're also kind of under like more pressure because that this is going to be permanent in a way. So yeah, it's a lot.
What's your first personal favorite album, or personal favorite song off the album, rather?
Off the new album?
Yeah, off the new album.
I Want to Lose is a really fun one to play live. and True Believers.
Very nice.
Because it's kind of like we started doing like more like fast kind of stuff, like just changing a little bit, evolving musically, but still, it's still us, I think.
It's awesome.
It's weird when people ask you, like, what do you sound like? I'm always like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you think we sound like?
What do you hear when we play?
Yeah. Because it's hard to say.
Mm-hmm. Well, awesome. I want to wrap this up with some promo. You can find LA Witch's new album, Play with Fire, along with all the other releases on all streaming platforms, right? You're everywhere,
Yes.
right? Spotify,
we're everywhere.
iTunes, Apple Music, YouTube, whatever. And you can buy the records, and you guys also have shirts, I believe, available. Yes. At suicidesqueeze.net and your Bandcamp as well, right?
Yeah, we're selling matchbooks under Bandcamp and a bunch of t-shirts at lawitch.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. This has been a pleasure. Yeah. And I'll talk to you in a second. All right.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.